Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Halo Forge Epidemic. My name is Paints, and in this video I'm going to be doing something a little different, and that is showing you guys how spawn zones work in Halo 4. Then hopefully guys can start actually using them in your maps without having to guess what exactly it is they do. So some of the data I'm presenting in this video I actually found in an article that was written online. A guy by the name of Tiberius Audley collected data on the spawn system early in Halo 4's life cycle. So I gotta give credit to him, and you guys can check out the article in the description if you want. So let's get started. I wanted to begin by saying that Halo 4's spawn system is somewhat different than Halo Reach's. In Halo Reach, if you placed a respawn zone that was specific to a team, players would only spawn inside of that zone, given that there are respawn points inside of the zone. In Halo 4, team respawn zones do not guarantee 100% of spawning inside of those zones. So instead what you get is these specific numerical values that go with the spawn zones. Each one contributes to the weighting of spawns. So basically each spawn zone carries a weight that contributes to how often you will spawn there. Now I'm going to be going over these numerical values, so pay attention to the weighting that each spawn zone carries, and this should help you guys out with your spawning system. Okay, so first off is just your regular old respawn zone, and this carries an influence of about positive 1375. So that is quite a bit of weighting compared to the other spawn zones. But again, if there's nearby enemies around every respawn point inside the zone, it will spawn you outside of the zone. And also keep in mind when assigning spawn zones to teams that attacker means blue and defender means red. And when using spawn zones in CTF, flag away zone means where you want players to spawn when their flag is away. Of course, a common trick used in Halo 4 is to stack 2 or 3 team assigned respawn zones on each side of the map. That is if you want a static spawning system, meaning that you should only spawn on your own side of the map. And you can see that Mr. Psycho Duck used it on his map, Panic Attack. So next is the weak respawn zone, and this carries a weight of positive 100. So you can place these in areas where you want players to spawn slightly more often. For example, on Daybreak, we see a respawn zone on each side of the map. We see a weak respawn zone on each side of the map, and combined with a team respawn zone, this basically tells the spawn system, hey, I want people to mainly spawn in this area unless it's occupied by enemies and combat. And I'll go over some of the things that happen in game that add and subtract weighting from the spawns in a minute. But moving on, we have 2 more types of spawn zones that you can place on your map in Forge. The next one is Respawn Zone Anti, and this carries a weight of negative 200. So anti-zones are used in areas that you don't want players spawning in too often. For example, in the middle portion of the map on Daybreak. And for Flood Forgers out there, you can use anti-zones if you're having a problem with the Flood spawning frequently in the same area. So the last respawn zone is Respawn Zone Weak Anti, which carries a weight of only negative 50. And this is basically what it sounds like, a weaker version of the anti-zone. So in my opinion, these should only be used for fine-tuning spawns after you played around with other zones and tested your maps. So now that we've covered all of the spawn zones, let's take a look at some of the things that can happen in-game that influence where you spawn. So a nearby ally carries a weight of positive 275, which obviously makes sense, spawning somewhat near your teammates for the most part. And nearby enemy carries a weight of negative 1950. So it is very rare that you will spawn near an enemy in Halo 4, unless it is a problem to do with how small the map is, and how many people you are playing it with. And that's why when you kill an enemy, your best guess at where they are spawning will be the furthest point on the map from your location. So enemy line of sight carries a weight of negative 340, which obviously means wherever an enemy reticle is pointed, you are less likely to spawn there. Player death leaves a negative 180 waiting for 7 seconds after death. So this is to prevent things like spawn killing and repeated spawns. Now the last one is a bit strange, and it is ally line of sight. Ally's line of sight will actually have a negative 75 waiting to it. So basically, if you want allies to spawn with you, don't turn around and look to where you just spawned. And I have a feeling that this is also to prevent players from spawning with or in front of who's ever pushed out furthest on the map, which would give that player who spawned with them quite the advantage that is kind of undeserved. So yeah, that pretty much is all I have to share with you guys. If there's anything you feel I didn't cover, feel free to leave a comment, and definitely check out the article in the description. It goes a little bit more in depth. But as always guys, thanks for watching. This has been Paints with THFE, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.